Okay, let's begin.
This video is brought to you by Manscaped.com. In the first part of this series, I pointed out some issues I had with the material, from pacing to some short instances where it felt like it lacked a focused direction. That was before it unequivocally won me over
video, I
through the
didn't
level
read
of
chapter
care
1.
and passion Kishimoto clearly demonstrated for the character of Naruto and the wider world he inhabits. From that point on, I knew this story had something to it, something I didn't expect to see. And going into this second arc, I was optimistic but concerned that it wouldn't live up to the climax of the previous installment. That I had seen the very best Kishimoto had to offer, and that now it would either be more of the same or experience a slight decline. Little did I know I was about to read an arc that would exceed
Not the Linkin
any
Park
and
again!
every expectation I've had for this series.
What is this Linkin
So
Park
far,
remix?
Naruto seems to be full of surprises.
Let's go! Hell yeah!
This arc was phenomenal.
That's the
Taking
best part of
vast
these
majority
videos.
Criticisms from my first video and turning them on their heads to make one of the most competently well-written arcs I've digested in a long time. Funny, thrilling, philosophical, and stunningly depicted, the Chunnin exams are a monument to what Kishimoto can do, and I can't wait to discuss what I thought worked so damn well and one or two areas where I was a little unsure. Right from the get-go of this arc, it wastes no time at all establishing what the goals of our main trio will be and what the goal of the arc is. Where I felt the first arc's prologue was weighed down by its establishing of the—
Okay, real quick. The reason I harp on the themes thing too is, if you read Kishimoto interviews, he, unironically, unlike most authors where you're like, oh, did he really think about it that way? Kishimoto actually has a list of themes in the fan book, so he'll create a theme for an arc, and then he'll construct the arc around that theme. That's why it's very important for Naruto. That's why I'm harping on it a little bit, not to be annoying, but that's one reason I'm trying to focus on it.
These characters causing it to feel a little rough around the edges, this arc by comparison is a finely polished gem, utilizing all the pre-existing relationships we're familiar with to bolster the motivations of the characters in this story being told.
I miss
here.
Inner
Naruto
Sakura.
still wants to prove himself.
What happened to
and
Inner
become the next
Sakura?
Hokage, and now he has the chance to achieve the level of journeyman ninja, the same level as Iruka, his only father figure, and one that throughout this arc makes it clear that he believes that Naruto and Ko are not ready, and confronts Kakashi about this directly. It's cute, and it adds more drama going into the exams for us, and makes us ask the question, what will these exams be like? Sasuke's motivation is in comparison a lot more simple, or at least it is early on. He's sick of going on meaningless nothing missions that don't push his abilities. From the very beginning, his character has had one express motivation: to avenge his family. And this arc explores that facet of his character in much greater detail than the first did, as he expresses excitement over finally getting a chance to test his abilities against worthy adversaries. The results are some of the most shocking moments in this series so far. However, for me, the best part about these pre-exam build-ups has to be the indication we get of something meaningful finally happening to the character of Sakura. One of the biggest issues I personally found with her character was that, at least compared to the other characters, she didn't really have much depth. She felt less like a character and more like a useful mechanism in the story to create either tension between characters or to insert comedy. And while—
So, by the way, you guys said he talked about Haku and Zabuza. It looks like he's just going to the Chunin exams. Does he actually talk about them in this? Or can we just safely say he didn't grasp the themes of the Land of Waves? Does he ever go over it? Do we know? He does a little bit. He does later. Okay, we'll see. Let's see.
While those attributes are important in a story, they don't make a great character in my mind. And so, the choice to give her plenty of characterization in the lead up to the exams was exactly what I thought she needed. This feeling of being less than, being left out, and not having the belief in herself to press onward, to have the courage to fail. For me, this injection of doubt and conflict in her mind not only made sense given her company and what she has done or not done, but also because it gave her the chance to rally herself right before the application process ended. It helped me build a relationship with her as a character, which was exactly where I thought she was lacking. And now, as this trio marches confidently into an exam many see as far above their current level, we begin this story. And the characters we meet along the way are what make this as magical and intense a tale as it ultimately becomes. So, I guess it's time to start. The Chunnin preliminary exams.
Whatever
PlayStation.
we do it together.
Hey, it's that game no one's buying.
Look good, game good. Gillette Pro Glide.
Gillette program.
Within this story, there are 3 preliminary exams followed by the finals. Dozens and dozens of cell groups enter, and only a handful of participants will make it past these prelims. I've seen many tournament or exam arcs in my day, but none like this. There's an element to
the
this that
Chunin
really
exams
makes it
is
stand out,
very
and I plan on
like
addressing it
ambitious
as I go. So let's
very
start
ambitious.
with the first test.
It kind of bites him in the ass later, but it's very ambitious.
The written exam. As soon as I gathered that the focus of this arc would be an exam,
This
where
is
students
peak
and future
shonen right
prospects
here.
would face each other in what I assumed at the time would be hand-to-hand combat for the chances of promotion, I got extremely excited.
Yes.
I've made it clear in the past that some of my favorite storytelling devices or settings are these which follow a predetermined and easily understood format. Tournaments and exams all offer wonderful moments for characterization to lead the charge, on top of offering numerous wonderful chances to get to know new characters. And given that Kishimoto was a massive fan of Akira Toriyama's Dragon Ball, I wasn't surprised in the slightest that just like his idol, Kishimoto's second arc too featured a similar format focused on progressing to later rounds. However, what
I'm surprised he's not commenting on Naruto and Sasuke being like Goku and Vegeta in their appearance.
Numerous stories and series rest on the laurels of the exam and tournament format, relying on it to carry the majority of the creative weight while they focus on characterization. There's nothing wrong with this approach, and many have used it effectively. Dragon Ball was one of the earliest adopters of this format, and in being such was quite straightforward and by the books in its approach. However, when I saw that Kishimoto wrote the first part of this exam to be a written paper test, I was completely taken off guard. In fact, I think I laughed out loud when faced with the concept initially. The idea that he would attempt to make entertaining something as mundane and visually boring as writing felt not only like narrative suicide, but also grabbed my attention the same way a train wreck might. Different series have made writing compelling in the past, like Death Note, but I couldn't see something like that working for a story like Naruto. A paper test just seemed like a bad idea, but I could not have been more wrong. Slowly, I started to understand. Not only was this going to work as an interesting section of the story, but it was, I think, a genius and unique utilization of this story's particular strengths. I'm specifically referring to its premise and themes. And once I caught on to the fact that they were being encouraged to cheat in order to pass, coupled with Naruto's innate inability to understand abstract concepts at the best of times, made not only for a compelling set of humorous and dramatic scenes, but present what I thought was one of the most brilliant challenges possible for a ninja-themed exam. I would never have thought of it, and something like this can only really work in a story like this about ninja training. It's so damn good. This exam's format follows in principle a very similar path to that of the old Tenkaichi Budokais from early Dragon Ball, wherein the preliminary matches before the main course set up the rivalries, establish the villains, and our other main characters that will participate.
He's learning as he
at
reads.
This stage in the early 2000s, that particular format was somewhat tired and done. This innovation on those principles in this new setting offered all the same benefits in a new way I've never experienced. In the last video, I never understood the love some people had for the character of Sakura, but with the introduction of these written exams, my opinion on her completely changed. In addition to helping establish new characters like Gaara, Hinata, and Lee, it also made me do a 180 on the character of Sakura with her intelligence on full display, proving to us that she's more intelligent than even Sasuke, carving out her own little niche in the group, ending on a thunderously powerful philosophical note where the examiner does the unthinkable. He presents the class with a dilemma. Either take question 10, get it wrong and fail, or bail now and try again next year. Apart from this once again taking me off guard with its immediate high...
By the way, this is just my note as well, not a critique of his video. I think Sakura being able to do the test, she basically does the whole test without cheating, which I think it actually kind of represents how Sakura has to actually take things to their limits with her own actual ability. So when she makes it to the end of the series and she becomes, you know, like above Tsunade level, it's actually all just her own talents and she doesn't cheat to do anything. There's no easy way for her to gain powers or anything like that. So even this arc here kind of foreshadows that for her to succeed, she'll probably do it on her complete own merit, which is interesting. Not to say Naruto and Sasuke don't work hard for their abilities, but just that they have, you know, certain traits like Kurama or the Sharingan that they can unlock that will help them. Although Naruto does not do anything in this thing because he doesn't have any help. But it was, for me, it was good foreshadowing with how Sakura could develop into someone powerful later, and it was just this scene.
stakes, the philosophy that came from it not only once again felt appropriate for the themes and setting of this world, but
because she's
again
normal.
highlighted all
Once
the
again,
strengths
she's
of the
normal.
Naruto character
But
himself. The character that looked the worst during this written portion ended it with the most promise by proving himself in a different way. And so, taking a step back to appreciate everything this section achieved, these prelims, both right before and after, successfully highlighted the main antagonists, established the strengths and weaknesses of the main characters.
Imagine if
and got
Naruto
me
really
so
failed,
damn excited for what
and
was
they're
to
like,
come.
nope, you
I've
actually
read
can never
every
do the
Dragon
exam
Ball
again.
tournament, the Hunter exams of
Like
Hunter
that he
x Hunter,
wasn't lying.
and the opening arcs of My Hero Academia, but none came even remotely close to the level of efficiency and creativity.
I mean, he was a getting
these
the whole
chapters
series
impressed
anyway.
me with.
Why do it put it?
Major kudos to Kishimoto for this section. It's no small feat to tick all the boxes the way he's done here. Comfortably, it is my favorite part of the story so far. The Forest of Death. The concept surrounding this section was interesting to say the least. While less focused in the prior and slightly more conventional, the opportunities this Hunger Games-esque type format offered should be clear. There's a reason TV shows like Alice in Borderlands and Squid Games have become so popular in recent years. Placing contestants into a battle royale type setting, vying for their lives, has limitless possibilities for drama, comedy, and conflict, all within creative and seldom seen set pieces.
Very true.
And this challenge was no different. However, funnily enough, this was a challenge that really helped me come to grips with some of the more intense themes of the story.
Kimimara's
At
not
first,
until
I
after
didn't
this arc, right?
completely understand.
So.
In the prior exam,
That fight
Ibiki,
was so
the
raw.
lead examiner for the written test, said before that test that, and I quote, "From this point there will be no more fighting without the express permission of the examining officer, and even if that permission is granted, anything that endangers another applicant's life is strictly forbidden." It seemed straightforward enough, I thought, no killing each other. And as the remaining kids signed the document waiving this rule of no killing, my mind's immediate first thought was that this must be a bluff on behalf of the examiners to create a high-stakes simulation for their future young talents. I thought, okay, they each get one of two types of scroll and must retrieve the second type within the allotted time. I immediately thought an interesting concept would be that they all had the same color scroll and that those that managed to listen to the prior rules outlined by Ibiki would survive, while others would succumb to the pressure and take more drastic measures as time went on. Or something like that. There were countless directions for it to go, and it ended up going in a direction I never saw coming.
He really likes that
In an
Gara
effort to
scene.
try and outthink the story, I
That shit was brutal.
thought the story, while it ended up delivering one of the most straightforward blows that shook me to my very core. I should put this on a shirt at this point for how frequently I say it, but placing characters under pressure is a great mechanism to help build a relationship between your characters and the audience reading or watching. Everything that transpires in moments of high stress and high stakes feels authentic. It can make a bad character feel more evil and a good character feel more righteous. And in these high pressure scenarios, Kishimoto reveals that the person attacking the group of
No,
Sakura,
Anko's
Naruto,
just naked,
and
dude.
Sasuke is a murderer. It's a chilling revelation that suddenly changes the entire vibe of the exam. Someone by the name of Orochimaru has stolen the face of an examinee, killing them in the process.
Identity theft is not a joke, Jim.
He's someone of tremendous danger and one far above the likes of Naruto and Sasuke in skill. Orochimaru is unlike any of the other characters I've encountered in this series. In the same way Zoro felt when he first tangled with Mihawk back on the Baratie, I felt like this encounter was
He
equally
references
as
One
unexpected
Piece a
and
lot.
demonstrated an enormous gap in ability.
I have that
between the
problem with
characters.
Dragon Ball when
There's
I'm
a
talking about
tremendous
Boruto.
amount
I
of
need to
emphasis
stop doing
placed
that.
on Sasuke as he's the target of Orochimaru due to his lineage, but for me, the highlight of this section has to be Sakura. Once Orochimaru leaves his mark on Sasuke, reveals that he knows more than he's letting on concerning his past, and places Sakura in a situation that actually made me feel so much sympathy for her, I was left a little stunned. Within a single chapter, Kishimoto flipped the script on this entire exam, downing both Naruto and Sasuke, thus placing a tremendous amount of pressure on Sakura. With no one to rely on, exhausted from lack of sleep, and terrified of everything around her for fear of what
Yeah,
might
this
happen
was a
to
good
Sasuke
scene.
and Naruto, she stays by their side as vigilant as she can be. It's an incredibly endearing set of scenes that demonstrate her strengths brilliantly. When the cards were down and she needed to protect her friends, she, without hesitation, was willing to place her life on the line for them. Even when she...
Oh, I'm not hating on him for mentioning One Piece. I'm just saying I have that same problem where I always compare things to Dragon Ball when I'm doing a narrative analysis, and I think it's actually like better to not do that. So I was just kind of personally noting, oh, he does that too with One Piece, you know, because I think I personally should stop doing that. I think I should just acknowledge the series on its own merit, but still, just my internal monologue, you know.
knows that she's going to lose. What begins This is a brilliant
go!
sequence of scenes dedicated to the struggle and tenacity of Sakura builds up into a fight
Rock
for
Lee used to be so
survival,
hype.
incorporating a host of different characters,
What happened to
their
my mans?
backgrounds and motivations, for better or worse. Lee remains to be one of the best boys and most likable characters in this series, fighting with his heart on his
I don't like the way
sleeve,
he said
God
best
bless him.
boys.
And
It's
I
kinda
can't
weird.
help but admit that I see a little too much of myself in him at times. And while brief, his participation is one that stayed with me for the longest time during the Force of Death sequence, drawing distinct and obvious parallels to the character of Naruto in his admiration for Sakura and his determination to improve and save those that need him. Sasuke in this sequence appears more vulnerable than ever before. There's a terrifying collection of scenes where something horrific is awoken within Sasuke, feeding off his desire for revenge.
Looking like fucking
Apart
EA.
from looking very impressive both in the anime and the manga, this section impressed upon me something I hadn't considered before. Another contrast Sasuke provides Naruto specifically in this series, where Naruto has had a demon sealed away inside him without his consent and chosen to fight against it to make it his own. Sasuke has been given one specifically because of his goals and actions. Naruto's goals fight to free him from his prison, and Sasuke's serve to become his undoing. Unlike Naruto, who wants to be the best he can be, Sasuke specifically is more and more over the course of this story becoming more and more consumed both figuratively and literally by his desire to kill his brother. And so, while this is just speculation, if he is to fulfill his role in the story, to contrast Naruto, it stands to reason that the closer Naruto gets to realizing
good.
his goal, Sasuke will become more and more consumed by his. It's a remarkably interesting dynamic, and I can't wait to see how it plays out.
Yep.
Mr. Sandman.
Young Gravy?
Babe, have you seen my password?
Yo, I'm about to start
Welcome
putting
to this.
unskippable ads on my
I'm
videos.
just messing. You should consider using Google's password manager instead. That way you can access your passwords anywhere.
Nah, y'all are gonna get unskippable ads on my videos now.
You'll still be the only thing I ever needed you to be. My son.
Gaara's characterization is terrifying, and in this scene, he single-handedly crushes my prediction that killing would be off limits. What a messed up exam. Overall, taking into consideration the final segment of these Force of Death
I think he got
Hunger Scroll
Sasuke
tag
right
games,
so
the vibe
far,
I'm left with is one
but
of
we have to
hope
see
that
if he
leaves
gets-
me with a
if he
chill
gets
in my
Lee and
spine.
Gaara right
We met
next.
and came to know so many wonderful characters.
We also have to
in
see
these
his
challenges,
Zabuza
saw
and his
each every
heroes
one of
and
the main
breakdowns
trio
as well.
experience hardship only to rise to the occasion and overcome. Some more so than others, and it helped to establish in a rather mysterious fashion the most intimidating villain of the series. Continuing the trend from the previous written exam, while this one was much longer, it wasn't in any way less creative or action-packed in my opinion. These Chunnin exams thus far have been an absolute treat and have given me everything I love from the traditional shonen format. Action, comedy, heart, and even tenderness through Iruka at the end as he welcomes his adoptive kid brother into his own leagues of journeyman ninjas. There's a palpable sense of love between these two characters and a wonderful sense of progression to boot. I loved this section, and overall with this Force of Death sequence, what an adventure. As a quick aside, something I want to keep my eye on is the examiner Anko that encountered Orochimaru and got his sign on her neck. She seems to have gone through the same metamorphosis as Sasuke, so let's see how this progresses with her down the line.
It goes fucking
Manscaped
nowhere.
is taking off. Their new out-of-this-world experience
Anko
with the
is most
Performance
forgotten
Package
character
4.0
in this
is now
show.
available not just in the USA, but also now Canada, the UK, across Europe, Australia, South Africa, and even Singapore. Wherever you are,
Yo,
the
y'all
right
shaving
tools
your
for
balls?
family jewels are now available.
Yeah!
Comes with a bunch of handy tools for your own package, and first
Hell
scheduled for
yeah.
liftoff is the new Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer. You've heard me talk about its skin-safe blades and waterproof build quality, but did you know it also has
This
a
is so
built-in
fucking
LED
funny.
spotlight to help you
His
navigate
fucking
the treacherous
abs.
black hole of Uranus? And that's not all. The bundle now includes their Weed Whacker
My
nose
ass.
ear trimmer. This baby packs a whopping 9,000 RPM motor-powered 360 dual blade system, whatever that means, ready to rocket up the dark side of your hole for a pristine trim. You definitely can't forget the Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant and Crop Reviver either. Gotta help your little planet stay nice and fresh as you continue on your adventures. And those adventures can
Manscaped
last
ads
a
are just
lifetime
so
if you
weird.
enroll in their peak hygiene plan.
Why do they
Replenishing
choose,
your
like,
favorite
us
products
to do
with
this
direct
shit?
delivery
Why don't they
straight
just
to
do,
your
like, a
door?
TV
so,
ad?
if you're ready to abort hairy balls and Buzz Lightyear that Woody with Manscaped, head over to manscaped.com and use coupon code NOTMARK20 to get 20% off, free shipping, and 2 free gifts. Your balls will thank you.
サスケ、本当お前ナルトカードゲームを集めてるだろう。ポケットからはみ出してるぞ。
Those are funny if they're real.
しのぎが続々参戦。ナルトカードゲーム。
Naruto card game. That's actually funny.
Let's get ready to rumble!
I love this fucking
changes
song.
Everything I felt about the story of Naruto, and took what was, I thought, a more kid-friendly world and plunged it into a much more dark, screwed up, and politically driven universe, which isn't a bad
showed
thing at all.
Itachi,
If
it did,
anything,
didn't it?
this creates a nice contrast with the plucky and upbeat persona of Naruto himself. However, it does bring to my attention a few things worth mentioning. Having children hunt and kill each other is kinda screwed up. Even if, for the sake of argument, I were to remove my humanity from the equation and
say it,
just
King.
look at
Say
the
the
scenario
society.
through the eyes of a cold-blooded utilitarian,
Embrace
it's
your
such
inner
a
Joker.
tremendous waste of future potential.
Just
that
say
can
the
make something
word.
of themselves and serve the respective villages.
Society.
I mean, I made the joke earlier about this Forest of Death sequence being like
Just
a fun
say it,
game,
Mark.
But at least in that book series, people were selected for that, with only one person who volunteered to be the standout of the games themselves. There's a tragic nature to these events that paint shinobi as tools of destruction, conflict, and nothing more. Pawns for political gain.
Go, Mark, go!
But the relationship between Haku and Zabuza is very much in
He's
keeping with this
spitting!
notion. Haku viewed himself as a weapon to be used for the betterment
Yes!
of the only person who cared for him, and Zabuza too felt that way as a ninja, broadly speaking. It's tragic, it's horrific, and to hear the Hokage of all people speak so frankly about what they are fighting for, while interesting, is really unsettling in a lot of ways.
Yes.
Effectively speaking confidently and candidly to the remaining successful and talented contestants about how disposable they are. In this world, events like the Forest of Death, where they weed out the weaker ones, is normal, adding a much more sinister tone to the likes of Anko, who stated
the
that
child
she wanted
soldiers
to cut
theme,
the numbers
yep.
down by half, at least at the very beginning. And as we have that horrific taste in our mouths concerning the lack of humanity, it's time for the tournament.
This scene was
to
so
further
weird
whittle
when she
down
licked his
their
fucking
numbers.
face.
There are some significantly important matches and thrilling spectacles to be certain, but the majority of them weren't too interesting from a narrative point of view, so I'll only be sharing my thoughts concerning what caught my attention.
Alright, let's go.
Sasuke versus Yoroi.
Alright. So there's 3 more things, I think. We have to see if he gets Gaara right. We have to see if he gets Orochimaru versus Hiruzen right. And I believe we have to see... I don't know if he does the rooftop scene or the hospital scene. But we'll see if he gets that right. But the political Naruto thing, bless. Good shit. He almost fully amended the first video. Almost. But that was good.
Short, I thought this fight between Sasuke and Yoroi did everything it needed to with the little it was given. But what makes this section interesting isn't necessarily the fight itself, but the conversation that
Oh yeah, there's
follows
also the
between
Nedji fight
Kakashi
too.
and
We'll see if he gets that.
Orochimaru. And just like the Hokage moments ago, his words, the arch-villain of the series so far, echo his exact sentiments concerning shinobi in a sense, that these people are expendable.
Oh, there's
And
also
we're
Rock
reminded
Lee. There's
of
a lot
this
of things he has
towards
to
the
get
end
right.
of Yoroi's fight with
Let's see.
Sasuke as he fights his curse, and once again in Shino versus Zaku, a scene so powerfully punctuated by Orochimaru's one-time lackey getting his arms literally destroyed from the inside out. It's horrific and made all the worse as we're given a fleeting glimpse into the world of this young man's history with Orochimaru seconds before.
Orochimaru
This
looks
story
so
has gone from
chatty in
strength to
part 1
strength
Naruto.
when it comes to its
Look at his
implementation of themes
jawline.
and pacing, and while melancholic, this scene is no different.
This was a
Sakura
good fight.
versus Ino. I never spoke about Ino earlier in this video, despite her being directly involved in a number of scenarios, but Ino is another character that gets some decent shine and exposition here and a chance to show her true colors. From a foundational perspective, I enjoy her popular girl demeanor and character design, but just like Sakura in the last arc, she suffers from issues stemming from Sasuke being a massive driving force in her life. However, and this is a big however, she does offer Sakura a means to further distance herself from this mindset. Again, I want to reiterate that really liking a boy or someone in a story isn't a sin or even a bad thing necessarily, but what's made me like Sakura all the more lately has been her ability to fight against her demons, and in the case of her defense of Sasuke, her insecurities.
Spit, Mark.
Fighting tooth and nail to protect those she cared for, all the while earning the respect of those around her. This was a brilliant moment from the Forest of Death, and it's one of the reasons why I found this fight against Ino to be so incredibly frustrating. Not because it's bad, far from it, it's amazing. There's a touching story filled with impactful gestures, symbolism, and touching character writing. However, there's also this.
今日の授業は生け花です。
Now look, I understand that in some cases, particularly for the purposes of deception and espionage, leaning into some more feminine qualities or embracing said qualities is important for young female ninja prospects to be able to wield. That makes sense as a concept, but Kishimoto, I found, whenever he tries to write a female character like a female character, he does so in a fashion that convinces me he's never seen or spoken to a woman ever in his life. There are some brilliant visual metaphors demonstrating Sakura's flower.
Although Tsunade was good, dude.
Like when she takes off
I wonder what he'll think about
emblematic
Tsunade.
of her taking off the security blanket her one-time friend Ino gave her. And that's brilliant, but throughout this chapter, instead of these two having a meaningful rivalry over something philosophically profound or substantial like the other fights, I'm constantly reminded that this is a rivalry over Sasuke's affection. However, looking past that, there's,
yeah,
as
it's
I
a little
said,
bit
so
more
much
now.
to like about this fight. From its
It's a
strategic action
it's a
set
bit more
pieces
than
all
that.
the way to its terrific use of the way Kishimoto has depicted Sakura since the beginning, with her inner Sakura
All right, I don't like summing it up as the Sasuke thing. I don't think he's even really relevant anymore. but-
overriding Ino's control power. It's such a brilliant and creative idea. And really, while female character writing isn't his strong suit, creative implementation of these techniques certainly is.
I actually, okay, my opinion here, I think that the second Sakura chopped off her hair, that was supposed to symbol. Okay, so I don't know if he gets into this, but the reason Sakura chopped her fucking hair off to begin with is because the reason she grew her hair out was because Sasuke likes long hair. She heard a rumor that Sasuke liked long hair, okay? So her chopping it off is showing that she is starting to value more about herself and her own ability, and she's starting to feel her own inferiorities and insecurities, and she's overcoming that and that just blinding desire for Sasuke, and is starting to realize herself. And, you know, Ino and Sakura, they even have flashbacks about their childhood and all this stuff, and then Sakura kind of showing her stuff to Ino is showing she's her own, like, woman now. She's her own kunoichi. So I actually do think that Sakura in this Ino fight is actually well written. I actually think it's a good character moment, and I think summing it up as Sasuke's affection a bit disingenuous. I don't think it's about Sasuke's affection. Her cutting her hair off is supposed to represent it's not about that. Also, can I mention one thing? Sakura is low-key kind of buff, like in this. She kind of got some arms, bruh. Anyway.
And I'm delighted this fight got some of that too. I'm a little bummed that it ended in a tie, but at the end of the day, it's still the best fight so far. And I think what I like about this section of the arc really is how much emphasis it places on the secondary and supporting characters.
So I think he got the political Naruto thing. That was good. I think he got the Sasuke and the Force of Death good. I don't think he understands Sakura at this moment, so that's my only critique, but yeah.
While Naruto does pick up the victory in his bout later on, there's not a tremendous amount that happens apart from Hinata versus Neji. To be perfectly honest, of all the fights in this section,
Hinata versus
trust me,
Neji
there's
was
a
so
balls to the wall
raw.
fight to end all fights.
The way
in
it
this
was
section in a
animated is
second.
so good,
this
too.
Fight first between Hinata and her cousin Neji totally
He's got
took
some
me off
fucking
guard and
Boondocks
turned out to be
choreography, bro.
Incredible. I had no idea the quiet girl and this person I didn't know the name of before would have one of the
All right,
best
now we
fights
gotta
of
see
the
if he
tournament.
gets
There's
Neji
a
correct.
palpable resentment with heaps of political undertones broiling right
Yes,
beneath the surface
the
as
society.
Neji expresses her resentment towards Hinata's family
Society,
all
Mark.
the while Hinata tries to overcome her shortcomings and timid nature to give Neji a far more competitive bout than anyone ever expected from her. She's been one of the only classmates of Naruto to actually show him some admiration and respect when it's due, and I like how this fight has echoes of what made Naruto special because of that. She's able to recognize what makes him strong, and all throughout this arc, she's sort of being the only characters to believe in or care for him. And during this fight, the dominoes fall, and I come to realize why. She wants that sort of self-belief for herself. It's easily one of the best fights, and Kishimoto does a terrific
going
job
in
of
with
characterizing Hinata as someone of interest. Funnily and ironically enough, in writing Hinata, Kishimoto managed to write a more compelling female character than the likes of perhaps Sakura and certainly Ino.
Yes, I agree. Let's go! My boy!
Gaara versus Rock Lee.
But before that... Yo, is that a shiny Celebi? Secrets of the
Dawn's
Jungle.
Fighting Power meets Daily
What the
Disinfecting.
fuck is that movie?
New Dawn Disinfecting Wipes.
Only 99%. Yeah!
Before going into this fight, without knowing the source of these names, I had heard through the grapevine that Gaara versus Rock Lee
I love
was
this,
something
like,
special.
traditional,
I wasn't
like,
even 100% sure
spreads
which
Kishimoto
anime it
used to
came
do.
from, but whew, this be a good one. It was mentioned during the Force of Death exam that Gaara's sand abilities happen without him needing to think, and this turns out to be the antithesis of Rock Lee, who had to work for every single thing he ever achieved. Unlike Gaara, he wasn't born with this innate ability to perform sand manipulation as if he were a master of Ultra Instinct, but the initial back and forth between these two fighters plays to the advantages this setup provides too. Gaara is set up to be this
Well, when we learn how
immovable
Gaara got
object,
that
this
power, it's a little bit
unbeatable
different, but
foe, one
still,
that has never
I get
even
what he's
had an
saying.
attack land on him. And so early on, we not only see what Gaara versus Rock Lee is, but also the battling between two different approaches to work. Natural born talent and innate ability versus hard work for earned power. A tale as old as time, certainly, and it's performed to tremendous effect here. A genius versus a genius.
Okay. Now, alright, take your bets. Do you think he's not gonna get why Gaara wins the fight? Yes or no? Do you think he's gonna say Gaara winning the fight is bad? Yes or no? Or do you believe in Mark? Do you believe in him? Middle class. Poll? I don't know how to do polls, so I'm a boomer. But just see what you said. Alright. Okay. Let's go.
Genius of hard work. There's short glimpses we get to see into Lee's early life that paint a very similar picture to that of Naruto's.
Ooh, this
upbringing.
Lotus theme is so
Surrounded
good.
by naysayers yelling at him to quit, reprimanding him for his failings, and insulting him for his lack of natural ability. When his master Guy walked up to him and called him a genius of hard work, I actually teared up a little bit. It's such a moving sentiment that really captures the essence of this character. And in this fight,
I'm surprised he doesn't compare Lee to Choppa from One Piece, because that's what, I think that's what Otis said was Rock Lee in Naruto. He's like, that's like your Choppa, bro. That's how you're gonna make it.
Rock Lee just goes full-blown fucking Kaioken. This is the coolest shit ever. I
Yes.
haven't spoken about this much as of yet, but the choreography
king.
and scope of this particular fight is unlike anything I've seen from this series
Loses to
today.
Sasuke,
There
but
are some
goddamn, he's so
absolutely
cool.
breathtaking layouts, and the philosophical
joking.
message brimming with hope, promise, and determination is enough to win my affections many, many times over. And all of this is turned up
The
to
fucking
11
Dragon
in the
Ball
anime's
ping pong.
adaptation. Thankfully, my team gave me specific episodes they deemed as must-watch episodes before I recorded these reviews to get my full experience, and Gaara vs. Rock Lee
He's got
is
a fucking
remarkably
team?
well produced in the anime, particularly for the early 2000s with its use of CG backgrounds. If you happen to have seen my Attack on Titan video, AJ wrote some cool sections
I
about
need
one
my
of
own
the
fucking
earliest
team.
usages of 3D backgrounds in conjunction with 2D animation to pull off some insane sequences that inspired the iconic action scene in that show. And it was this particular episode that kicked things off. Directed by Toshiyuki Tsuru, who I've been told is a legendary name in this franchise, this episode switches things up by swapping to 3D backgrounds, which, although haven't aged well in places, did allow for some spectacularly ambitious sequences from the likes of iconic animator Norio Matsumoto. It's all so dynamic, and the fact that this was possible on a TV schedule back in the early 2000s is astonishing. Turns out
thanks for
that it
doing
was
the poll, by the
Matsumoto
way.
who also animated the amazing sequences in the Force of Death episode I was told to watch, and that was insane. I've been absolutely loving the choreography in the manga, so to see these legendary staff members elevate even further the material was really cool. AJ's got me set up with all the animation highlights for the future, so I'm definitely excited to
I like
see
this little dog
more
gif he always
here.
posts.
For now, back to the manga. As
Alright.
wonderful as Gaara is a dancing partner, in this instance to bring out the best of Lee, it's Lee's mentor Guy that ends up carrying the bulk of this bout's emotional
fucking
weight,
Linkin
along
Park.
with his lovable, precious protege. You can see in his eyes that what Lee represents and is fighting for matters greatly to him. That he not only can look on and enjoy the show, but is very much inspired by this young kid too. It's an outstandingly brilliant fight, easily the best I've seen so far in the series, and Kishimoto managed to achieve this level of personal, emotional involvement from me without using any of his main characters. Utterly spectacular stuff.
Okay.
なんだそのでっかいカエルってばお前一体何者だ
Okay, so... Okay. He just didn't comment on it So we don't know what he thinks. So we'll have to see later what he thinks about it. I guess we can see if he understood why he lost afterward. He didn't even comment on it, so I don't know. I'd say just refund. Yeah, because he didn't even comment on it, so we don't even know. I mean, it's either refund or he didn't get it. So you could say he didn't get it because he didn't even comment on it, or you can just say refund. So it's either one. We'll have to see. Anyway, let's see what happens. Let's see if he does get it later.
This section of the story is largely set up with it primarily providing us with the chance to catch up with the plot lines concerning Orochimaru's plan to steal away Sasuke, the history of the fourth Hokage, and the various finalists preparing in their own ways for their respective upcoming final bouts in the Chunnin exams. This is all fun and enjoyable, but it's rather standard. However, while reading through this section, I did find something worth perhaps remarking upon. A large portion of this waiting phase is spent following Naruto's preparation to fight in these
there's people
matches.
that hate Jiraiya?
In these, he trains with a flamboyant mentor called Jiraiya who can summon a giant frog. It's humorous at times despite the fan service. However, what's interesting about this is what it made me notice. I've mentioned this before, but Akira Toriyama's Dr. Slump and Dragon Ball were massive influences on Kishimoto and Naruto by extension. And nowhere was this more obvious to me than with this specific scene. Years back, I wrote a series of videos wherein I attempted to...
Jiraiya is mainly inspired by the actual character Jiraiya, but he does kind of have some Master Roshi qualities, I guess.
To break down how I understood certain characters in the Dragon Ball series worked. What made the likes of Vegeta, Piccolo, Frieza, and many others tick, in a sense. And in them, I pointed out...
Did he say attempted? Did he say... Hold on, let me... Wait, what did he say about this? Hold on, did he say he attempted?
And nowhere was this more obvious to me than with this specific scene.
What kind of canyon
Years
is
back,
that?
I wrote a series of videos wherein I attempted to break down how I understood
attempted.
certain characters in the Dragon Ball series worked. What made the likes of Vegeta, Piccolo, Frieza, and many others tick, in a sense. And in them, I pointed out that
I
one
can't
of the most
defend any of
simple
those
and
videos.
effective narrative mechanics Toriyama implemented was through the character of Son Gohan, highlighted perfectly in this scene.
Mark is such a fucking Gohan fanboy. God damn it, it's always about Gohan with him. Gohan's not even the best fucking character,
We're all
man.
familiar with Gohan's hidden reserves of strength only brought forth through danger, and it looks as though in his admiration of Dragon Ball he created in Naruto a character with the determination of Goku but with the mechanics of Son Gohan.
Oh, he's saying that was like a Gohan
that with
moment?
his color scheme, Toad Hermit Mentor, and it's not hard to see the similarities with that of Akira Toriyama's early material.
I actually
But
don't
where
think
this scene
Jiraiya
in
was
Naruto
that heavily
himself
Dragon Ball. I
deviates
think
as a
it was
character
the story.
comes moments after.
So the thing about Jiraiya is that there's a story where it's Jiraiya the Gallant, and there's Jiraiya, Princess Tsunade, and Orochimaru. Jiraiya uses frog magic, Tsunade uses slug magic, and Orochimaru uses snake magic. So that's what that's inspired by, but yeah.
After he's thrown. In the case of Gohan, his inner power was ill-defined and left to occupy our minds as pure speculation. It never came from anywhere other than him. Ironically, he has more of a claim to a chosen one type power than Naruto does in this way. In Naruto's case, Kishimoto decided to depict a scene inside Naruto's mind, where he confronts his literal inner demon directly. I thought this was a really cool idea, and when
I'm gonna be real with y'all. I don't think Gohan and Naruto are at all inspired by each other. I'm gonna be just straight. I know you like. I ain't seeing it, bro. Like you're reaching with this one. I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing the Gohan Naruto thing. I'm sorry. Look, I get it. I'm just not. I'm not seeing it. This is a bit copium.
I didn't think would happen. It's brief, but even so, it's full of character. Naruto doing what he does best when he's caught off guard. Act tough, resulting in the intimidating beast trapped within to acquiesce and lend Naruto the necessary chakra to save his own and by extension the Fox Spirit's life. It's definitely one of the most interesting developments for the Naruto character thus far, and I was extremely excited to see where this one went.
Kaiju frog. It is a big fucking frog, isn't it? Alright, we'll see if he gets Gar now. I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say already that since he didn't comment on the Lee thing, that he didn't get why Gaara won that fight. So y'all lose if you say he got it. But we'll see if he gets Gaara in general now.
I thought the purpose of this scene was brilliant. Isolating what makes Gaara tick as a person, and just like I pointed out with the likes of Haku in the first arc, Naruto
He likes Luffy so much he's stretching his point.
seems to have a great
That was a good
emotional
one.
maturity
That was
for
a good
these
one.
particular kinds of lost toy characters. Empathizing with their situation, even in the case of Gaara, where he's saying some of the most reprehensible stuff, mirroring the main character, offering an example of him in an alternate world through the likes of a more unfortunate character that didn't have positive figures in his life like Naruto did, really serves to highlight what makes him wonderful. I
Is
mentioned
Gaara
that
Naruto's
that's designed
Jigen
to
or
sort of look
Jiren?
better when he's punching up, fighting
this
in the
Naruto's
back foot
Jiren?
like Gohan was.
Holy
Effectively,
shit.
whenever an opportunity presents itself to show courage. And this is a character
Wait,
that
Naruto
Naruto's
versus
intimate
Gaara
understanding
was
of
the
what makes him
original
tick,
Goku
knows the
versus
lengths of
Jiren,
how
bro.
far he's
God
willing to
damn.
go. Naruto's been a character that shows a brash bravado in practically every encounter he's participated in, even up against the nine-tailed fox spirit. The reason he feels comfortable in doing so is for a myriad of reasons, but one particularly stands out in this case.
It's
More
called
often
the
than not,
foil.
He knows he's
Yeah.
willing to push himself
I
farther
know.
than anyone because he needs to. But now he's met someone that's just as willing to do that, and suddenly Naruto starts to shake.
More like Goku
Brilliant
fought his
scene.
Gaara.
Similar to Sasuke in this sense, this is a villain that's tailor-made to make Naruto look amazing. Placing him on a back foot we don't often see him perform on, and I can't wait to see this fight now.
Ads in 2
Chunnin
seconds.
final exams.
Alright, what ads we getting today?
Have you ever come up with a password so complicated, then bam,
Password rejected.
Google's Password Manager creates,
I hate
securely
Google
saves,
Password
and
Manager.
fills in passwords
If someone
for
was
all
to
your online
keylog you
accounts.
on Discord, they could get that password. That shit sucks. Don't do that.
Another cleaning tip
No
from Mr.
cookies.
Clean.
Bad cookie.
Try Magic Eraser
Don't
and
save
erase dirt
cookie.
and mud on shoes.
No
I'm
cookie,
going to
you
be
get
glancing
hacked.
over some of these fights in the same way the manga did. While there were story reasons for one of them being entirely skipped over narratively, I really did feel like all the emphasis was on these two fights between Naruto and Nedji and Sasuke and Gaara. Both were
Yes.
amazing for very different reasons, and I will be chatting about them in detail, but one fight
Shikamaru
I will be
versus
covering that
Tamari
much
was
of
kinda
will
hype,
be
though.
Shikamaru's. He
Yeah.
said it himself, it's not what anyone came to see, but with that said, he had a decent showing for a chapter or two with some fun and creative action sequences. I really
My
liked
king.
his shadow speciality and its implementation in this fight specifically. It's super fun and he's super smart.
You're so smart, I'm gonna throw up. Hold on. Alright, so let me tell you. Does he go over the Nedji fight here? Let's see.
Naruto versus Nedji. The climax of this fight shows firsthand to Nedji, someone that believes someone's fate is determined at birth, that you can change your fate. All of Naruto's life, he was told that he would be nothing special. That even if he did have potential, he was a cursed child burdened with a fox spirit. And right now, in this fight, Naruto uses this as a strength. I loved watching this fight, and honestly, it might be the best Naruto fight thus far that I've seen. Kishimoto has done a terrific
he likes
job
him more
of
than
providing
Rock
this
Lee?
young
Okay.
kid with a host of interesting adversaries to fight and bring out the very best.
I
in
love
him.
fucking
I've
Nedji,
mentioned
dude.
already
He's so
why
cool.
Gaara is a powerful foil to Naruto, as he shares a similar background but went a different direction in his life. But Nedji, on the other hand, instead of having a similar upbringing, channels a philosophy that runs counter to Naruto's. Obsessed with and convinced that everyone's fate is predetermined, that they are all
Yes.
hamsters running on wheels against a tide that none of them could possibly overcome or overturn.
Now, there's
The
one
exact
thing he has to
opposite
get
of
about that.
Naruto's
That's the
mindset.
general idea.
And
We'll see
showing
if he
this
gets the other
orphan
part.
child channel everything in his power to grab the victory was powerfully cathartic, with him effectively using all of his weak points and insecurities as strengths against his opponent. And by the way, when Naruto erupts from the floor with that massive uppercut to take out the pompous Nedji, I actually punched my fist to the sky and shouted, "Yes!" It's a brilliant fight, and for the first time, this one-time loner receives the adulation of his peers. Once mocked for who he was, the determination he's shown in the face of adversity
Pretty high.
has delivered him the stage.
I rewatched that
he
fight like
deserves.
80 times.
A
It's so good.
victor's welcome. The message of this fight being believing in possibilities can give you the power to change your destiny. What an empowering and uplifting philosophy.
So that is the overarching theme. The overarching theme is fate. Pretty obvious. You know, he has a teammate like Rock Lee who's not gifted and he's always stronger than him. But the other part about Naruto is Naruto exposing the hypocrisy of others. So it's not just about, oh, Naruto is the, you know, the orphan kid or whatever who's strong or whatever. It's also about Neji's inner confliction, because he's conflicted, because on one hand, Nedji believes in fatalism or whatever on the surface, but then truly deep down you can tell he doesn't, and this is why he lashes out against Hinata to begin with, because Hinata was the chosen main branch family, yet he's content on fucking her up, talking down to her, even though she's his fated superior. He doesn't actually seem to accept that, and it seems more like surface level fatalist bullshit, where he's just lecturing to others when he doesn't actually believe it. So Naruto kind of forces those contradictions out to the surface, and that's why he wins. And I will say, though, that Mark did a good job. Fate is literally all you really need to know, but that deep down, that's why Nedji loses, is because Nedji is conflicted and contradicting himself. Which is why he fucked up Hinata to begin with.
Something I've noticed in this manga, particularly this week after I had to read like 9 volumes of them, is that there aren't really that many full-page spreads. Kishimoto's paneling doesn't feel cluttered, but he doesn't often go all out with a full-page spread too often, and that can be a strength. As seen in this fight here, he really goes out to make this feel like the spectacle it deserves to be. Ever since the 1-month training
heavy
began,
violence,
Sasuke has had a question mark hanging over his head. After what he went through in the Forest of Death and the qualifiers immediately
these pages
thereafter,
are so good.
when he eventually shows up for this final showdown with Gaara, we learn that he's been training with Kakashi, and the way the two of them are revealed on the page has a terrific sense
I'm
of
sorry,
occasion
but
thanks to
Boruto just don't hit like
framing.
this.
The fight, in addition to that, gets a tremendous amount of shine too, and for all intents and purposes, this is Sasuke's highlight reel, with the very creepiest from Gaara making itself known to us as he slowly starts to lose his mind. I don't think it's an understatement to say that this is an incredibly important fight, and just as Sasuke whips out what looks like to be his big finishing move, the arc takes a turn for the worst.
Yes, sir.
This arc has been utterly spectacular and has shown me tons of stuff both to analyze and keep in mind moving forward. There's a massive political upswing in this upcoming material.
If you don't like Naruto after the Chunin exams, you just don't like fucking anime, bro. Like, you don't like shonen.
First impressions and review of that material, don't forget to subscribe. But until then,
Alright, so next
I'll see you all next week, and thank you so much.
So next is Konoha Crush. So I will say I was impressed with some things about Mark's analysis. Society, Ninja Society, yes, 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 yes! Ninja Society was a good point for him. Thank God he went into that. The other thing I did like was his Hinata analysis. I like how he pointed out how Hinata doesn't just like Naruto like on some weird sexual level. She actually knows what's good about him, and that's why she shows similar traits as he does in the Nedji fight and doesn't give up and all of that, and that's what she likes about Naruto. I really like pointing that out. The only things I did not like was I don't like how he didn't seem to understand Sakura's development or the hair chop scene or the Ino fight. He didn't seem to understand that well. I did appreciate that he did understand the whole fate theme, but I hope, and if he does see this, I hope in the next version that he starts to see it's also about contradictions. So Naruto is a series about pointing out contradictions in the adversaries and then drawing them out. And that's why Naruto wins fights, is the contradictions that he shows. And that's why Talk no Jutsu for Naruto is so important, because of him pointing out those contradictions. So I hope he starts to realize that is a big theme of it all. But yeah. Can you explain why Lee lost? Sasuke goes into it on the rooftop, actually. Sasuke explains basically why Gaara wins, and there's a huge power in Naruto in terms of when it comes to solitude and finding yourself, which Sasuke gets into. And Sasuke, this is kind of spoilers for Konoha Crush, but Sasuke basically learns from Gaara that solitude is what makes him and Naruto so powerful. And that's why he further engages in cutting himself off from the Leaf Village and pursuing his own path of solitude. And that's why he actually likes Naruto so much. So that's why Gaara won, is because of that theme that Sasuke will learn later. Mark didn't point it out, so I don't think he really noticed it. But one thing I will say about Mark is I'm glad he at least didn't shit on the fact that Lee didn't win. I'm glad he didn't jump the gun, because that's like a really Plague of Gripes fucking move. So he's at least he's better than Plague of Gripes by a lot so far. So that's pretty good. Other than that, I thought it was okay. Yeah. So other than that, also reread Chapter 1, please. Read Chapter 1. That'd be great. Chapter 1 would be amazing. But other than that, it was okay. So, are you done streaming now? Yeah, it is. This is my 2 hours. I will be back to stream tomorrow. So, if you guys did like the stream today, I enjoyed your company. Thank you everyone who did come or whatever. I don't know how to raid or whatever, but yeah, we will be streaming tomorrow. I'm kind of out of shit to stream, so maybe I'll do some, like, I might just play Budokai 3 or something. I finally got that to work, and I'm not gonna lie, I kind of want to play it. But, you know, we'll talk more tomorrow. We'll see what we can do. And other than that, goodbye, guys. Have a good one.